All right, so I like listening to this guy because he's over there and he says what we all know. He says what I've been saying for a while. So, and he does the work to put the data together. So,
Good morning. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And this table is the number of STEM grads by country in the year 2020.
so 2020 STEM graduates by country exactly. There's China. There's India. Okay, so that one block over there produces more than everyone else combined, pretty much. U.S. is well below. All right, and then you got Russia, and then you got Indonesia and everyone else. So I think you can see the direction that this is headed.
820,000 graduates from STEM programs in the United States, which is misleading, and we'll get back to why in a minute. China, India, Russia, Indonesia, Brazil, Iran are BRICS countries, the emerging economic and trading bloc of natural resources economies.
So the world's biggest miners, China, and then India, and then the U. Oh my God, India's mining as much as as the U.S. Okay, the U.S. is in trouble.
That mine everything and that build everything. This chart shows the percentage of college graduates from STEM fields, same year 2020, 40.
Percentage of total graduates in STEM fields. China, Russia, Germany, Hong Kong. No, not Hong Kong. Iran, India, France, Mexico, US. Mexico is more than the US. Okay, the percentage of total graduates. Okay, so percentage, so yeah.
1% of China's graduates are in STEM, Russia at 37%, and so on. The US is at 20%. Those are the numbers. Other countries graduate many more engineers and scientists than Western countries do.
Yep.
And students in those countries study engineering and the hard sciences at much higher rates. In other words, every year the pipeline for top engineering talent grows everywhere but at home.
Yep.
It's not what's next, it's where.
I mean, that's what it feels like.
This analysis comes from the Semiconductor Industry Association, and this forecast in particular is not hard to make. The size of the semiconductor industry in the United States today is 345,000. That's how many people work designing and building semiconductors now. The industry will need 460,000 engineers and technicians by 2030, and there won't be nearly that many. We'll be short at least 27,000 engineers.
Probably a lot
The
more.
association sees a shortage of 12,300 master's degree level scientists and engineers and over 5,000 PhDs.
And the reason why I make such easy predictions is because I don't see the U.S. doing the hard things that it needs to do. I don't see change happening over here. Sure, people are coming to Bernie and AOC rallies. It's way too late. These guys should have done this like 15 years ago. You know, I mean, essentially, we've just gone back, what, to 2016? We're back to Bernie rallies, you know, out of power.
PhDs. Those are scientists who need to be in university right now and who are not. 2030 is 5 years away, so engineers who will be completing graduate school level work need to be in class today somewhere, but they're not. And the comparatively small number of U.S. grads are going to be in
Because there's no good jobs over here. It literally, for a STEM in the U.S., it feels it's a shrinking opportunity. It's a pool of shrinking resources.
high demand by all industries, and the semiconductor industry is just one of them. We have engineering talent shortages everywhere. Clean energy, petroleum engineering also, medicine, biotech, AI, telecom, aerospace, manufacturing. The shortage of skilled STEM workers is a problem for the whole economy, not just in computer chips.
Yeah.
Economy-wide, across all computer science industries, the shortage is 1.4 million people.
And again, the reason why you have a shortage of engineers is because you have a shortage of opportunities. So don't listen to all the garbage that you hear that, we don't have enough qualified engineers. they don't have enough opportunities here in the U.S.
Back to why this chart is much worse than it appears. These are graduates of American universities, but many of them are not Americans. Over half the master's level graduates in engineering are foreign.
See, let's take a look at that. So, annual graduates in semiconductor rate and engineering fields by degree and citizenship. So, domestic is dark blue, international is sort of light purple. So, once you get to PhD, so once you do a bachelor's, a lot of Americans do a bachelor's and then they leave for easy money. Really don't want to do the hard work. As soon as you hit the master's, it starts to reverse. Once you get into PhD, it's mostly foreigners, and that's what I experienced. And also, the reason why it's like this is because PhD level jobs in the US, you get screwed over. I mean, most Americans just want to go here, be a bozo, I got work experience. Whereas people who actually do the hard work and know the expertise, PhDs, so this is sort of like this lopsided sort of graph is, there's so many issues in the US.
Foreigners for PhDs at 60%, 80% of the foreign master's degree engineers, and a quarter of the doctorates leave after graduation. That's a total of 16,000 masters and doctors.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and wondering, like, why is this guy, what the hell is he talking about? Where's this garbage? Especially if you happen to be in academia and you think, like, oh man, things are fine. Like, what's the, is it a case of sour grapes? What's going on? Like, oh, poor guy, A few years down the line, when you feel the pain, when you realize what I was talking about, I want you to think back to this moment, watching this, and remember this graph, and remember my reading of what this graph implies.
Doctorate level engineers leaving the United States every year. The semiconductor chip companies have plans.
Let's go back
in the United States. 16,000 masters and doctorate level engineers leaving the United States every year.
Leaving the United States. At U.S. colleges and universities, over 50% of master engineering and over 60% of PhD engineering are foreign citizens. Approximately 80% of masters and 25% of foreign PhD STEMs graduates from the U.S. institutions do not remain. Yeah, this is what I've been saying for a while, is that the reason why China developed is because essentially America educated them, sent them back, and then just America built up China. I mean, pretty much. It's not like the Chinese didn't do any work, but the U.S. essentially made it like an open, just, instead of building its own STEM capability in the U.S., taking it to the next level, they were busy doing this random war and terror stuff, running after, cavemen. I mean, yes, it's an issue, but nowhere near what the U.S. is making of it. And in the meanwhile, they just wanted to outsource everything else. So it's things are not looking good for the U.S. right now. It's not looking very good right now, is it?
The semiconductor chip companies have plans to take these billions of dollars the federal government is handing out to build plants.
Sure,
but
why
nobody
not?
in the industry believes that there will be the people available to work in them.
Absolutely not.
$39 billion is being used to build new semiconductor plants or expand old ones, and companies are lining.
So whenever you see this, just think about who's getting the kickbacks. It's not going to achieve anything. So why were such big sums of money involved? Why were they handed out? Where did the money go to? And whose pocket did that money end up in?
Up for the money and pledging to spend another $210
And you have a right to be upset because this is your money.
billion more. But the labor market is tight right now.
And just remember, you live in a system, in a government right now, where the government says this is not your money. Right? You see the interesting trick that they played on you. They took your money, they took your resources, and then they say, no, it's not your money. It never was your money. What are you talking about? We are supermensch. We are supermen. Oh, you are a peasant. So, yeah, just consider that. This is your money. It's 100% your money. Where is it going?
Now, they can't find the workers for the plants they have today. Too few students know.
So when you can't afford education in the U.S., if you can't afford to send your kids to even a simple community college or a state university, right? Instead of being upset at yourself for not being able to afford to pay the loans, instead of being upset at the universities, which you should be quite a bit, you should be upset at the government. Where did the money go? Where's our money? The whole point of working over here in the U.S. was so that your kids could have a better life, so that they could have access to education and get smarter, right? And that was the whole point of the Enlightenment, of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Where's the money gone?
About the industry at all, so they're not signing up for university classes. Then again, the problem that a lot of the ones that are in our universities are going back to their home countries as soon as they get their diplomas.
Yep.
In China, these shortages for top engineering talent are much more manageable because there's just a lot more of them and a lot more on the way. This is an astounding data point that 44% of China's engineers are under the age of 30, compared to 1/5 in the United States.
Yep.
So compensation packages for Chinese scientists and engineers is 1/8.
Yep.
A company can hire 80 Chinese scientists or 10 American ones for the same money.
Yep.
So semiconductor companies know that the talent pools are in China right now.
With the current value of the US dollar, my prediction is that within 10, 15 years, you're not going to be able to afford any Chinese scientists. The US economy is not looking that great.
But they worry that they may never show up in the United States or in Europe. But they have another problem, because China is the biggest market for semiconductor chips. Most of the computer chips in the world are built here, and most of them are used here. Intel is an American company and has 12,000 employees in China.
Yeah.
China is 27% of Intel's revenue. Intel has announced plans to expand their chip packaging and testing facility in Chengdu, spending $300 million. And $300 million goes a lot farther in Chengdu.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you're wondering, like, hey, what do I do with these numbers? I kind of knew about this, yes, China's the manufacturer of the world, is the factory of the world, blah, blah, blah. Just stop and ask yourself, where have American opportunities gone? Where are all of the miracle drugs and the miracle technology that was supposed to come out of the US? Like, where is it? We were supposed to have a clean climate. We were supposed to have energy sources. Travel and air flight was supposed to be easier and more comfortable, right? Instead, it's more painful and it feels more expensive. Where's your money gone? What's going on? So ask yourself, the person sitting in front of you right now, I have a PhD in quantum physics, right? Why don't I have all of these opportunities, all these recruiters knocking on my door? Why don't I have hiring managers begging to have me join their teams, right? And it's not just me singular. There's a lot of people like me sitting in the US, complete waste of resource, complete waste of human resource, complete waste of talent. It's not looking very good for the US right now. If you know what I mean. It's really not looking that good.
Than in Chicago, and they can hire 8 times as many people. Intel has equity stakes in 43 Chinese companies. ASML is a Dutch company with China sales of over $10 billion.
Yeah.
China is 36% of their sales, and they're building a new maintenance facility in Beijing.
Right. So do you think, who do you think the Dutch are going to be listening to right now? Right? I mean, follow the money, right? You got to follow the money.
These are cold realities.
Who's Big Daddy? Who's paying your bills? Who's putting money in your wallet?
Semiconductor companies are happy to claim billions of dollars in federal money to lay concrete in Arizona and in a few other places while they're telling themselves that nobody has a clue who's going to be working there.
Yep.
That
No.
it's free federal money, so what's not to
Yep.
like?
Exactly.
Then they make pledges to put in another 10 billion or another 100 billion years down the road. Meanwhile, down the road from here, right now, they are building and hiring, having no problem staffing out their engineering teams in their biggest customer market.
Yep.
Here is another cold reality. The United States at 820,000 STEM graduates. If we back out the ones
That's
who are
the
going
US
to the
over here.
airport the day after graduation, the US number is closer to 500,000.
Yep.
Russia is ahead of us. And that puts this into better perspective. There are roughly 8 times as many Chinese engineers and scientists graduating every year compared to American ones. We need to stop being dismissive of the BRICS countries, and right now. These are
And this is not even counting. I mean, I know India doesn't do that very well in hardware, but I'm absolutely sure that they could really kick some butt in software. They can make some astounding software at dirt cheap prices if they ever, I don't know, if they ever felt so inclined to do so. So I mean, like, the competition has not even started. So whatever you're feeling right now versus China or whatever, like, it's not even the beginning of the competition.
These are the countries that run massive trade surpluses in energy and raw materials and food and manufactured products.
Yeah.
They send us products and we send them money.
Yep.
Those are the countries that mine everything. Those are the countries that farm everything. Those are the countries that make everything. And those are the countries where their kids are learning how to make everything.
Right.
This is Lanxi Jinhua in Zhejiang.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a sad situation for someone who moved to the U.S. to see everything that was going on. Yeah, it's, I'm lucky, I'm comfortable, things are really well, I can have fun. But, in terms of working on, ideas that are the next generation of, human consciousness, those don't really exist over here. I mean, in the U.S., you got silly things going on, like, let's put a human on Mars. Whoop-de-frickin-do, let's build reusable rockets. Like, okay, it helps a little bit. You know what I mean? But in terms of the overwhelming thrust of innovation, right, that definitely does not feel like it's happening over here in the U.S.